They call him Seatin, the man of legends.
Hey guys, what is up? It is Seatin here, the self-proclaimed man of legends, and today I'm going to be telling you how to do Kain the Reaper. So a Kain the Reaper guide with a few hints, pro tips, etc. So the first thing is, when you initially pull Kain the Reaper, there will be two groups of ants with Deathbound Reapers and 3 Deathbound Husks in. You'll need to separate these groups, as if the Reapers are close together, what they're going to do is they're going to give each other a damage buff, and then one-shot the tanks and go on to wipe the raid, which is obviously a scenario that you aim to avoid. Now, as well as that, the Deathbound Reapers need to be interrupted. They cast an ability called Whispers of the Dead, which will deal about 18k damage to the entire raid. So if it's caught in a bad AoE with number 1, it will wipe the raid or kill quite a few people. So tanks need to focus the Deathbound Reapers and interrupt them. During that first initial phase, all DPS should be focused on number 1, aka Zafro Ashtung, which you'll see in the video we actually just defeated, and you have 30 seconds to kill him, or he will spawn 3 Deathbound Blood Thieves that will need to be single targeted down, but ideally you want to avoid this scenario. So when Basil Rotflesh initially spawns, what he's going to do is he's going to blow up one group of Deathbound Husks, making them all explode and deal 10k damage. They will start pulsing and then explode about 5 seconds later. You can see in the video it actually happened on the right hand side, where just the rogue tank was by himself and there were no belly DPS, so essentially he just ate all of those explosions with no problem at all, and nobody got killed. However, if it did happen on the left hand side, all of the melee DPS would have just had to take a step back for a couple of seconds, wait for all of the ads to explode, and then move back in. Somebody should be yelling it on TeamSpeak or Ven or whatever you like to use anyway. So as you'll notice at the moment, I've actually been turned into a zombie, and while I can cast all my normal abilities, I'm totally immune to healing. The way I can heal is by using this reactive ability, Gore Feast, and feeding off the health of another party member. Now, I believe it's about 4 to 5 people that get zombied in that phase, and a purifier can shield them. So while you're immune to healing, you're actually not immune to shielding. So you're going to take gradual damage as a zombie that you're going to need to use this reactive to heal through. Luckily, as a zombie, you're immune to most forms of damage, but not all. So just be aware of that. Now, moving on to phase 2, what Kain's going to do is he's going to absorb this massive death colossus and mutate into Kain the Reaper. Now, the most important thing about this phase is the absolutely massive frontal cleave on Kain himself. It's something like just over 180 degrees. You'll see in this video, I and Evelette actually get hit by it. Luckily I had a shield on from the purifier, so I was lucky enough to actually survive the cleave there. But as you can see in Evelette's case, she wasn't so lucky, so stay behind the boss, especially when it is spawning. That was a bit of a nub on my behalf. Now, the first mechanic to be noted is the Blood Thieves. These need to be switched on to by all DPS and single targeted. They have a 90% reduction to any AoE, so do not bother AoEing them down. Purely single target them and just nuke the crap out of them, because if they do not die within 20 or 30 seconds, they will enrage the boss and the boss will kill everyone. It is as simple as that. Now, on to the next mechanic is these red pulsing circles. They will deal AoE damage, and these are essentially what the Blood Thieves spawn from. So basically what we do in this video is we just all stack up and heal through it, and that is generally the way that you deal with this mechanic. You can have various people run out, but that's quite often a bad idea, especially at the later phases, because these people will die, and I'll go on to explain that in a minute. So the next mechanic you'll want to have a look out for, which really only applies to the melee, because the range shouldn't be standing in the direct sort of north, south, east or west of the boss. So essentially for the direct north, south, east or west, what he's going to do is he's going to do a purple cross. As you can see now, the melee need to move out of that or they're going to be turned into a zombie. The zombie mechanic works exactly the same as it did in the previous phase, so it's really not ideal. It will gimp your DPS, and you may also die if you get turned into a zombie. So basically just step out of the purple, wait for it to turn yellow, and then you can continue DPSing the boss and the Blood Thieves. Now, the final thing to be aware of is that around the outskirts of the room are ghosts. As you can see, they're plodding along. If anybody touches these ghosts or get near them, they will become very aggressive and one-shot the person nearest to them. Now, these ghosts aren't just having a walkabout around the outside of the room, they're gradually going to get closer and closer. And this kind of acts as an enrage timer on the boss because it limits the amount of space you have. So this makes running out when you have a red a fairly bad idea, as it does get extremely tight toward sort of the end and the lower percentages. As you're going to see, we're going to have a very small circle to operate in. Now, if I was actually the smiley face, I'd actually move a bit closer to the boss at this point, because as you're going to see, the ads are coming in closer. See, they're purple at the moment and they're moving in, and what's going to happen is a couple of people are going to get gibbed and one-shotted because they are far too close to the ads, because we're not really standing in an optimal position. So if you're feeling like leading the raid, you might want to take a few steps forward and be a bit closer to the boss. So essentially, guys, that is all the mechanics. I'm going to do a quick recap, a TLDR at the end of the video. Phase 1, nuke Zafril. You have 30 seconds to do this. If you don't do it in the time, you're going to need to single target the Blood Thieves and then kill Zafril. If you kill Zafril while Blood Thieves are up, he's going to enrage. Then Basil Rotflesh will spawn. You need to single target him. Ads are going to explode when he spawns. If you see ads exploding, move out. Tanks, keep the Deathbound Reapers apart and interrupt them. If you get turned into a zombie, eat people when you're below 50 to 60%. Final phase, Kain, move out of purple AoE, get near the boss, don't get in front of the boss, and for the love of God, single target the Blood Thieves. Thank you for watching this guide. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. Take care, ladies and gentlemen.